Bibliotherapy is the term that's used to describe the therapeutic value of books. There are thousands of books that have been written about grief, and today I'm going to share with you one of my favorite books that supports grief, and I'm also going to share with you why I think this book is so helpful. Please subscribe to our Grievolution community by subscribing to this channel. Be sure to click on the notification bell so that you are aware every time we're talking about a different aspect of grief. And also please consider sharing this channel with anybody that you think might benefit from having a safe haven to do their grief work, to enter into their relationship with their grief, and together we'll be better. Hi, my name is Jo McRogers. I'm a social worker who specializes in supporting grief, and today we're talking about one of my favorite books that has never let me down. I always recommend to clients, and I always receive the feedback that it is oh so helpful in growing their relationship with their grief and giving them a safe place to explore their grief. So here's the book that I'm speaking of, and the author's name is Martha Whitmore Hickman, and the name of the book is Daily Meditations for Working Through Grief. Martha Whitmore Hickman and her husband experienced the death of their 16-year-old daughter through a horse riding accident. This woman knows grief. If you're already familiar with this book, please leave a comment below so that together we can all learn about the great resource that this book brings to our relationships with our grief. So why do I love this book? This book has a page a day that includes a quote, a reflection, and a closing thought about grief every day. This allows you to enter into a relationship with grief as an entity, as a concept, as opposed to only feeling stuck in your own personal grief. This book allows you to create some space where you can begin to have a relationship with grief. The fact that this book is a page a day is really helpful because often when we're grieving, our concentration is interrupted and our focus just isn't there. So many times people will tell me that reading books, they have to reread the same page over and over and over again. But that's not what happens with this book. One page a day, 3 little segments, and it organizes your grief in a way that's really, really helpful. This book is full of reflections. They range from emotional to philosophical to spiritual to religious to provocative thoughts. But each page has its own content that is soothing. When we talk about stepping into our relationship with grief, which is so difficult, this book provides a pathway in. So it's important to experiment also with how this book would work for you. Some people will start at the very beginning and read day by day all the way through. Other people will go specifically by the date and start on the date that they open the book. Some people use it in the morning and they find that that helps them address their grief and then walk through the day feeling as though they've done their grief work and they can reflect upon that throughout the day. Other people will use it at night and then journal afterwards and feel as though they've then put their grief to bed before they're actually going to bed. Some people will light candles, spend some quiet time in contemplation after they've read the book. Some people will use it as the inspiration for their journaling. It's so important to experiment with any resources that you're using to address your grief. Each page and each day of this book holds little nuggets of wisdom and relevance and contemplation. So this video is being published on July 26th, so I thought I would just open the book to that date and randomly read you from the pages. So the author, Martha Whitmore Hickman, speaks about one of the reasons that death of someone close is so profoundly shaking for us is that it holds up the mirror to us and says, yes, you too. Sometimes that may seem a welcome prospect. Our wish to join the loved one is so strong, and our aversion to life without that person is so great. The mysteries and quandaries of death ask their recurrent questions. Is there life beyond? Do we know one another in a personal way? Do we know ourselves? Do we become part of some great cosmic energy? There are no sure answers to these questions. The best answer, as the best memorial to our loved one, is to live our lives fully, one day at a time. And then she closes off the day of July 26th with a this lovely quote of ownership. I am a citizen of this day. Tomorrow will bring its own demands, its own gifts. If anything in those quotes have stirred something within you, a thought or a reflection, please share your comment below again so that we can all learn together how to do grief differently, how to do grief with expression, how to do grief with one another, as opposed to it being only an internal, lonely experience. I've used this book and recommended this book for years, but it wasn't until I decided to make a video to share it that I actually did some research about the author. Martha Whitmore was born in 1925 and died in 2015. This book was written in 1994, and it is still so pertinent almost 30 years later. Grief doesn't know timelines, and the support that this book offers these many years later proves this. If the suggestion of this book for its therapeutic value has been helpful, please like this video in the thumbs up below so that people will know that it's an important resource to learn about. Know that I'm creating new videos every week, and I'm always looking for suggestions for content creation, so please send me any suggestions that you have of videos that you'd like to learn more about, topics you'd like to explore. This book serves as a really strong support to processing grief. So consider buying yourself a copy if you are processing your own grief, but know also that it makes a really good gift when you are extending condolences or support to anybody who is grieving or who has just recently experienced a loss. When you're doing your grief work or when you're supporting somebody in your grief work, compassion and self-compassion, of course, are the first request that I make of you all. So as always, kind thoughts, kind words, and a kind heart when you're doing your grief work. Thank you all, and I'll see you next time.